Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat.
And a very good morning to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And actually, today is a rather wet and damp day. So, and unusually, the traffic seems to be light on the roads. I don't know why. Let's see. But whatever you do go around safely and be aware, because that's how we ought to be now these days. On the program to discuss what is always being discussed, which is the current situation, which has got nothing to do with electricity, but everything to do with anything else, is that veteran politician, Mr. Dinesh Gunawardene, is right here in the studios. Very good morning to you, Mr. Dinesh.
Morning, Faraz.
And I'm ever so glad that you now live closer to our studios than you did. Aren't you? Aren't you happy about that?
Yeah, rather happy, but the traffic is the same.
The traffic is the same?
Same.
So you might as well come all the way
All the way from Battaramulla.
Yes.
Anyhow.
And before you were in...
Battaramulla, now I'm back in...
Kaluagala?
Yeah, that's my village.
Yeah. How bad is the traffic from there?
Much more worse than what anyone would expect.
Oh, really?
Because the high level has not been developed.
But you all built roads and highways during your time.
Yeah.
What happened?
The up and coming is the highway through our area, Kalni Valley to Ratnapura. That's what is coming next.
Okay.
Let's
now
see.
then, Mr. Dinesh Gunawardene, what's going on in Sri Lanka?
Sri Lanka, I think for us it's quite clear after the 21st
The events of the 21st.
terrorist attack on Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
The entire collapse of the security and the economy
Yeah.
has affected us. We have not totally come out of the situation, except I think Switzerland has just lifted the travel advisory.
Yeah.
We are canvassing heavily on the other countries. That is on tourism and our image. Financial collapse is still not taking off. I think the government has not yet been able to fully get the economy going as before 21st of April.
But to be fair, it's not something you can just do with the flick of your fingers.
No, really not, because already the economy was in serious difficulty when this happened.
With a growth rate of 3.2%.
Growth rate of 3 point and all the debts that had to be covered. The business establishments all in debt to the banks.
Yeah.
Banks seriously in crisis, some of the banks.
But the banks have reported significant profits.
Banks show profit,
Yeah.
but you also know that the banks have immense amount of debt, and the central bank moving in for the minimum deposit rates with the banks has had its effect. But now the central bank has to take serious consideration of the situation, and the governor and the monetary board has to consider how to come out of this difficulty.
Now then, what is the role of the opposition in all of this? What's the opposition? Are they standing by and watching over with glee?
No, the leader of the opposition and all of us,
Yeah.
we extended full support for the actions of the security forces, so that the government could go and restore the security situation. The most respected cardinal.
But isn't it all about building up confidence?
Confidence, yes. That's why the opposition extended, and on a clear support on emergency regulations and the restoration of the security situation, and we also called upon the security forces to go ahead with our support too.
Now then, what's your stance on the continuing emergency regulations?
A state of emergency is a necessity after such a big blast,
Yeah.
such a big massacre,
Yeah.
over 250 people,
I think the word here is innocent lives.
innocent lives who come into prayer.
Yeah.
I mean, no one attacks one in a religious place.
Yeah.
Plus,
But is that a breakdown of ecclesiastical values, or is that a breakdown of law and order? Or is it a bit of both?
I think I agree with what you say. Ethical values have gone down
Yeah.
right across the world.
Yeah.
It's not only in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
We saw 9/11 in New York.
Yeah.
High time the world and the governments took serious measures.
Yeah.
Of course, they did take,
Yeah.
but still there are lapses. Then comes law and order, breakdown in law and order in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the defense secretary to go,
But that's-
IGP to
But that's
on retire.
it's almost pedantic because, and of little value, because just because the defense secretary is gone and the IGP is sent home on leave, doesn't mean that we've got to the heart of the problem.
No, I agree. But what I say is, someone has to be dealt with. The law and order situation has to be restored by respecting the law and order and administrative responsibilities that have been given to various people.
Yeah.
This country has not.
So
had
the
that.
abrogation of those duties, Theresa May said in her final sort of speech. It's not really her final speech, but in that you know the one I mean. When she said that when in a democracy, when you give people an opportunity to have a say, then it is your duty to deliver the people's wishes. And which is why, having tried 3 times, she was unable to deliver Brexit, deal or no deal or whatever. She was unable to deliver Brexit, which is what the majority of the people who voted want. And therefore she stepped down. Now, isn't it remarkable that she stepped down although she had passed a vote of no confidence earlier, and under the rules in their party, she could carry on for 12 more months, right? But the backbench members of her party decided that enough was enough, and they wanted her to go. And they made it absolutely clear through their 1922 committee that if she didn't go, or she didn't give they're quaint, the British language, isn't it? So they said, if they don't give us a timetable, we'll act and get you out anyway. Now, to me, I see a very clear Sri Lankan link there. Because if you don't mind me saying so, this was very much what President Rajapaksa did. If he didn't get his way, he would invoke all sorts of regulations which were available to him to use, and had his own way. And that is what happened in the Conservative Party, and Mrs. May didn't want to test all that because she knew what was possible, and so she announced her departure. Now, that's because they practice real democracy there. And they listen to what the minority say, the minority members of her own party. What chances of that in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, well, I agree with you. The Prime Minister of Britain has, made a conscious decision of better the party to lead the country,
Yeah,
not the individual's office.
Yeah.
Secondly, British Prime Ministers have had this tradition so many times.
yeah,
That's why British parliamentary democracy is respected, and the people's wish has been taken by Labour as well as the Conservative Prime Ministers and stepped down.
But
Couple of them. But in Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
I don't think after late Dudley Senanayake that this is respected by any of the Prime Ministers.
but parliamentarians in this country are very fond of quoting Westminster-style politics. And Westminster-style this, that and the other.
And visiting.
Yes, and then they visit and then you become a member of the International Democratic Union and all sorts of jolly things, and give the impression, or in my suspicious mind, I call a cloak of democracy when you are anything but a Democrat. Isn't that what's happening here? I remember a certain member of parliament who lectured Mrs. Bandaranaike on Westminster-style politics in Sri Lanka's parliament.
Very much, very much. The Sri Lankan parliamentarians also should seriously understand the process and the functions of democracy. It is not one or two individuals that have brought Parliament's credibility down. Over the years, it has been going down. You know, it is, as you say, some might like to show. We know the Westminster system.
Yeah.
We have visited Westminster. Yeah. We have visited British Parliament, and we have been honoured. Yeah. Therefore, we can do anything. You see, yeah. That is the final outcome of what we have traditionally now enjoyed, being vastly eroded. This is what our Parliament is today faced with.
Now then, the emergency regulations, you said that they are necessary. But my concern, and the reason I'm asking this, and my concern is this, that during this period, when the public are not able to fully express what they want to in the normal way because of the various regulations in place under the emergency, because you are taking a risk, and if the police do decide to make an arrest, they can do so under the emergency regulations, and then you're held for an indefinite period of time with no legal representation or anything of the sort, because those things are all put on hold. Now, during such a period, is it fair to start, I noticed that they almost surreptitiously bought this thing about the Millennium Challenge Corporation thing. Couldn't it have waited? Was that the most serious thing then? And all these other agreements that they're supposed to sign, waiting to sign, may sign, all that, surely, what is the indecent hurry to start passing them now during the emergency regulations?
Yeah. Emergency regulations of the period and the regulation itself is tough enough for our average citizen or organized societies, civil society groups, political parties. But when we call for emergency, it is virtually asking the government not to rush through day-to-day affairs, but to concentrate on restoring law and order.
So, concentrate only on the emergency?
Emergency, highest priority.
Yeah.
But the government seems to be not worried in a way. They go and enter into various agreements like the Millennium and so many other agreements, which has to be properly discussed by society as well as by Parliament. There is no room at the moment when the government...
Have you raised your concerns?
The opposition totally has raised concern on this matter. But the government itself, I would like to repeat what I said before you, government itself is in crisis. There's a constitutional crisis between the President and the Prime Minister. Let us not forget. The Prime Minister's office acts on its own, makes statements on its own. President's office also follows in the same manner.
How did you vote? Did you vote for the emergency regulations?
Emergency, I spoke in the debate and I supported it, and we have never, the last two emergency votes, we have not voted against. We in the opposition have supported. Only the TNA last time had voted.
So you actually voted rather than abstained?
We don't oppose the state of emergency. The government itself says that they have more than 112 to survive.
Now,
But they had only 22 voting for themselves.
now then, well, okay, in the same token, President Rajapaksa received a widespread support from now Speaker Karu Jayasuriya and others during the time that President Rajapaksa first came in and to strengthen government to fight what they call terror. Well, that's another story. But on the line, Mr. Dinesh Gunawardene, on the line is Mr. Rusipala Tennakoon, and I've put to him the same question about the use of trying to pass matters during the emergency regulations, and how fair is that? Mr. Rusipala Tennakoon, very good morning to you. You're live on Newsline. Good morning, Mr. Rusipala.
Good morning, Faraz. Welcome back to Sri Lanka.
Thank you.
To see you. Sorry to intervene in a very, very useful conversation with a very important person, my respected friend Dinesh Gunawardene. But I would like to take a minute of your time just to invite your attention, focus on a very important thing that concerns the country. Because Dinesh is there, I would like to take this opportunity at this moment. You know, we are just, the whole country is overcoming the shock. The shock that we ever had in this country recently of several people being killed in religious places and the tourists being killed. Now, in this background, we are now facing another shock of the government under the cover of the emergency, trying to enter into several agreements with foreign imperialists, international imperialists, surrendering the sovereignty of this country. And causing huge future problems for the country. We are going to be another Syria. So I call upon people like Dinesh, whom we love so much, who are so vociferous. Please come up, forget the emergency, get the people to rally around and oppose this damn agreement, which is to be signed by the government surreptitiously under this emergency situation. And it is time, I would like to take this opportunity to say, it is time for the clergy of the highest degree in this country, including the Mahanayakas, Reverend Cardinals, and the other religious leaders to come forward and help the people to oppose this government's action unilaterally, suppressing the opposition, suppressing the views of the people, suppressing the rights of the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that rather passionate plea, Mr. Rusipala. Now, there you go. This is what I picked this because several people have told me the same thing, that during these emergency regulations, it is almost unfair to try and pass other things because public opinion cannot be fully expressed during the emergency regulations because people fear the repercussions or the potentials. What do you have to say about it? Is Mr. Rusipala overreacting? Are the public overreacting, or have they got a point?
No, public is not overreacting. Mr. Rusipala is a very experienced figure in political and trade union world.
Yeah.
Council of the Colombo municipality at the moment, which itself is in crisis.
Yeah.
I come to that point later.
Yeah.
If the government attempts, and which the government is doing right now, to force various pieces of legislation which is anti-democratic, against the country's sovereignty, and against the country's future economic survival, it has to be opposed at any cost, and which the opposition will do. Opposition has been acting democratically and taking the priority issues, as well as we have been very critical on the issues that were mentioned. I think I agree. It is not only the role of the members of parliament, the religious leaders, especially the Cardinal Malcolm Rajit, Mahanayakas, they also have expressed doubts about some of the measures. Now, take the counter-terrorism bill. We did express our concerns and we have been very critical, and we had been raising it with the president. We have raised it with the government members, and we hope that the last 45 days it has been sort of postponed. Not out yet, but sort of postponed.
Right.
Even
Do we need a counter-terrorism bill?
we don't need at all. I mean, the EU clearly says amend the present law. Other countries say amend.
So why are they focused on this counter-terrorism bill?
Obviously, they want to encompass everyone in
Are
the
they trying to
country
control the media?
under draconian piece of legislation.
Are they trying to control the media?
Media is also one. Media, political activity, trade union activity, even economic enterprises can be brought in under this new law that is being proposed, which we will not support or will not agree. Will bring all possible forces in the same way.
Yeah.
On other issues.
Right.
We will act to bring all the possible forces agreeing to defend our motherland.
Talking about economic issues, I have to ask you this. Have you got A-levels? Have you got
Yes, A-levels as well as O-levels, as well as university degree.
Oh, of course, right. Well, no, I only ask you because I'm wondering, what line of A-levels did your friend, the current Prime Minister, what did he do?
He did arts and he continued.
He did arts.
And he went to the university,
He
I think.
didn't
and did
do arts because he didn't get enough marks at maths at O-levels. I've got a point here that I'm trying to make.
I can't make a comment on that because I'm not an expert on investigating examination papers.
Okay, but
It's up to you.
But it's your
Because
friend.
various people make statements, that is not the issue.
No, that's true.
Either-
No, what I mean is, the point I'm trying to make is, Sri Lanka's economy is in a mess, and it would be nice and appropriate for us to have a leader who knows how to add up, because obviously certain things don't add up. Now the reason is, and he's doing a lot of dancing at the moment. Is it true that he did dancing as an A-level subject?
I don't know.
You're not sure?
I don't think dancing was a subject at that time.
All right, well,
At
anyway,
that
the
time.
point is this. Isn't it better? This is the point. The point is this. Isn't it better? It's obvious that the politicians have failed and the economy is in a mess. Isn't it true that we need professionals to run certain matters, like Sri Lankan Airlines, for example, and so on? Isn't that true?
These are issues on which we have very clearly expressed ourselves. Not only professionals, able public servants should be protected. Take one example,
Yeah.
appointment of secretaries to ministries.
Yeah.
The power is with the president.
Indeed.
Formerly, it was the most senior public servant who was getting promoted. Now we moved an amendment, I moved the amendment, the 19th Amendment Bill, which was rejected by the government. Let us first restore the public service.
Yeah.
Also bring professionals to handle all key institutions in the country. I agree with you, whether it's Lanka, petroleum or electricity board, you have to have eminent men. We have had eminent men handling those key areas, but not in recent times, you see. We have seems to be putting political loyalists or half-baked professionals just ready to say yes to any deal.
It's not like, though, that in your government, that was...
Even in our government, I'm not trying to say...
Because we had a plant
all governments,
Sri Lankan Airlines.
all governments.
We had a
when
plant
we
who
had
ran Sri Lankan Airlines. We then had a coffee seller who ran Sri Lankan Airlines in this government, right? And so on and so forth. And even if you are an airline pilot, doesn't mean that you're the best to run the airlines.
So is being an ambassador.
We had,
how many ambassadors are qualified?
Suren was there, and he had various connections. So then Charita Ratwata's brothers was somewhere. Yeah. And so what I'm trying to say is that nepotism and family bandism and political patronage are still very much in play, and they're really playing hard.
Very much. Very much because the so-called 19th Amendment and the commissions have failed. You know, everyone was expecting the commissions to stand straight, take up the challenge.
This conversation towards the end has got the people's conscience going. Somebody says here, is pointing out to me, and thank you, that going away from due process, I'm fond of talking about due process, going away from due process was actually started during the rule of President Rajapaksa. It took on a new intensity. I don't mean that it started like that, but it took on a new intensity. They did away with national tender procurement guidelines, and they started entertaining single bid sort of proposals, unsolicited bids, and so on and so forth. And so, you know, it was started in that way. We're not. And then, what about the actions of the speaker? This speaker. I'm talking about this speaker now.
Present speaker.
Yes. I mean, he's been almost always being described as one of the most partisan speakers ever. He's an absolute disgrace to the position. And I do hope that President Nasheed, former President Nasheed, does not take any kind of example from the current Sri Lankan speaker, Karujaya Surya. And many congratulations to President Mohamed Nasheed on being appointed as Speaker in the Maldives.
Yeah, we must all congratulate him.
Indeed.
For the change plus the role that he's going to play. And he will play an exemplary role. I don't want to comment on the present speaker because he's supposed to be on the track toward the UNP presidential candidate.
Yeah.
So let's wait till presidential elections come. I mean, he's playing a role where he wants.
But surely at least a few members of parliament should get together and put him on notice that for his actions, he may well have to face the music when he is no longer the speaker.
He was with us also, no? He became a cabinet minister, you just mentioned.
Yes.
Coming to Rajapaksa government.
Yes, but he came. He said he came because to support the war effort.
You know, our parliament has had so many crossovers in such a short time.
Yeah.
Who takes anyone seriously today? This is what has happened to parliament. Sorry to say, this is what has happened to parliament. The battle between the presidency and the prime minister's office. The battle of who's going to be the next candidate within the UNP is another issue. Today, as you mentioned, deviating from the law, the UDA has today taken over all powers of the Colombo municipality. I don't know whether you are aware, which have been protested by the lady mayor and all the councillors. All powers of the Colombo city has been taken over by the UDA.
So what's the point of spending all this money and having a CMC?
Exactly. And what is the purpose of having a local government? What is the purpose of delegating? If few officials want to just...
So this is what I mean. If this happened in Britain, all those MPs would have been up in arms.
Very much.
So what's wrong with our backbenchers?
Yeah,
Why are our backbenchers
issue is we are not
so
British.
subservient?
Issue is we are not British, and we should take matters seriously.
But honestly, can't we put him on notice, put the speaker on notice?
We have put him on notice from the day that he has been deviating from the norms of parliament. I don't want to repeat. He has not respected the standing orders of parliament when he behaved during our government's 50 days. That was the beginning where he exposed, but he was commended for that by the British Parliament. So you see, just for being against our government.
It's frustrating, Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena, for the people to sit here and watch them being impacted and challenged. Our lives are being challenged every day by the actions of these politicians and this blessed speaker. What can we do about it? Can't you put him on notice?
People's representatives should be heard, accommodated. That's what parliament is. But today, even when you give notice of a no confidence motion, speaker says, what can I do? I can't fix a date. Why is the speaker there for?
But all these things, nothing ever happens. We had a presidential inquiry commission into the bond scam. into the bond problem with the bond. All right, I won't say the word scam. Bond gate.
Bond.
All right. Now, what happened? It was very conveniently, they got a little scapegoat in the shape and form of Ravi Karunayaka, and that was landed on his back, and everyone's forgotten about it, right? Or it appears to have been forgotten. Then they, every time, you know, they have this breakdown in the intelligence, it's landed on some secretary's back, and that's gone. And people are carrying on. What on earth's happening here? Where is governance?
We have to, at any cost, restore law and order in the country. And the respect to law, irrespective of who your loyal is, it has to be implemented.
Back
Otherwise,
on this, the business about the speaker. I know that you're very vociferous and so on. But rather than that, with that as well, why can't we get deadly serious and say to Karujaya Surya, we're putting you on notice because you are partisan, and that's not the way it should be.
yeah, we will. We have told him and conveyed over and over again, and we have other measures that we could take.
But in the end, it appears to us, the public, that each of you all are protecting each other.
Not really. No, I don't agree with that.
You don't?
This is the propaganda that is being carried out.
By whom? By
the
Karnataka?
opposition that has stood on its own for the last 4.5 years, exposed this government. When they postponed local government election, we got the local government elections.
Why don't you come out openly and use, even if you have to use parliamentary privilege and all that, why don't you all expose the true figures, the mastermind behind the bond gate problem?
It was the opposition that exposed and brought about the total exposure of who were involved. Obviously, the media also played a very important role, giving the public
extremely important
very
role.
much. That I agree.
I'm not going to let
that
you
is
take
not the
that
issue.
away from
That is not the issue.
Newsfirst.
So that's why I mentioned about the media. But the opposition did play a role. We were.
Yeah, but that's not enough. But it's
less
not enough.
in
We want
numbers.
action, though. We want action.
Action we will deliver. We will deliver.
Do
That
you
is one
think
of the
that the
highest
future-
priority issues.
All things being equal, can you tell me that in a future government in which you are part of, will action be taken to bring the perpetrators of the bond gate problem to task?
Very much.
Will the public get their money back?
Very much. They have to be given their money back. Plus, not only the public, the country, the state exchequer should get it back. And those who have broken the law, the procedure has to be brought before court. You know, but
I do wish
all
that we
this,
had-
I hope that we will be able to do it in a matter of months. We might face the presidential election. Constitutionally,
You know that we store these things, these programs are stored in digital format as well.
Good.
And we will hold you to it. If you are part of a future government, we will have you back here and ask you the same
Very
thing.
much.
And if you don't turn up, we will doorstep you and ask you the same question.
Thank you for us.
Thank you, Dinesh Gunawardene. It's
you.
been an absolute pleasure. And I'm so sorry that you didn't remember the A-level results. But that would have been
Dancing, you mean dancing.
about dancing. Because we are tired and fed up of the dancing carried out by our leadership. All right? So there you go. Thank you very much. It's been a
you.
splendid morning. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And that's the way it was on Newsline. Take care. Have a great day. Be careful out there because the roads were wet this morning. Take care. And of course, God bless.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.